You know, Cheryl, you and I were kind of talking about doing this video, and we were thinking about the topic of being in a video game, you know, and it's been kind of interesting the last year for us, you know, on this journey, and what we have had our eyes opened up to, and the synchronicities that we've seen, and just how things seem to just fall into place for us. And I think that's kind of where this video is coming from, right? It's like this thought that we really are living in a virtual reality headset.
Well, I know that when I was younger, I always kind of questioned things in my life. And I don't know, when I was a teenager, I had a realization with my friends that not a realization, but just a question. What if our life is just a bunch of frames and we're not really here? It's like a movie. And then when the movie The Matrix came out,
I remember that.
I was watching it, and as I was watching it, I was like, whoa. Oh my goodness, this is exactly like conversation I had, because The Matrix is like a simulation of life. We
watched The Matrix just recently, again, for what, the umpteenth time?
Yeah.
But it was so eye-opening. How old is that movie? 15 years old, something like that?
It came back when I was in college, 96 maybe.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, it still had so much relevant information in it. And then we were watching other movies like the Avengers and the different Marvel movies, the Spider-Man movies. It seems like right now there is so much out there talking about quantum realm, talking about blipping, talking about different dimensions, wormholes, and time, you know, time travel and stuff. And I'm curious as to why it's so prevalent in our vernacular and in what we see on the TV and the movies. You know, we just saw something about the Contact of the Third Kind. What was that movie?
Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind, right? And we were watching a documentary about how that movie was created, and they actually released classified documents to make that more of a, what do you call it, a drama documentary or something? Yeah, something like that. And so more and more information is coming out about how these movies, even 20, 30 years ago, had a lot of fact in them.
Well,
and
because this knowledge has been around for millions of years. Everybody knows about it, but it's been hidden from us.
How do you know it's been around for a million years?
Well, I don't. I sense it, I guess you could say.
Well, and let's go there. How many times this has only been a year, and it seems like lifetimes, but along our year of spiritual exploration, our spiritual journey, all the different times we've been awakened to new things, how many times have you had that realization that you can't prove it, but it feels right in your heart, you know?
That's what I was saying, is that when I was a little kid, it was like, you know, I was raised Christian, and I was like, things were taught to me, and I'm like, this just doesn't seem right. This doesn't seem right. And maybe some of you weren't that way as a kid, but like now in the past year, like a lot of people had a lot of awakenings, if you want to call it, and they started questioning things, the way things are in life and the universe, and things just didn't seem right. And that's kind of how some of you guys have started getting into this, that this life is, something's not right. And we were watching an interview a couple weeks ago, and it was a very long interview, so we didn't finish the whole thing, but they were talking about the concept of a VR. A virtual reality headset, and I feel that our life is that way, because your higher self is up here controlling what you're seeing here in the 3D.
Before we jump to there, but that's a great place to go next, is, you know, I remember a video of the late Wayne Dyer talking about, I think it was with Oprah Winfrey, and she was interviewing him, and he was talking about the heart and this term called knowingness, or just plain a knowing. And that's when, you know, and there's been a lot of science research showing that our heart can actually predict an outcome several seconds, up to 7 seconds, before our brain can realize what's actually happening. And this connection that our heart has with, I guess you could say, our higher self, or universal knowledge, to be able to predict the future before we actually see it come to our eyes and our senses and our awareness. That's, again, that knowingness. And so when you go back to a spiritual awakening and you can't explain it, you may not even be able to explain it to your loved ones, let alone your friends. And you may not be able to find anything to really factually prove to you that what you're feeling is correct, but it's that knowingness in the heart. But go to what you were talking about with, remind me what you were saying?
The VR?
Yeah, the virtual reality headset.
Yeah, so after I've kind of had my spiritual awakening, I've gone into the quantum so many times, I've had so many meditations where I've traveled through time. And I've realized that I could probably manipulate things in the past and maybe the future, because the past, present, and future all exist at the same time. There's another meditation I had where I was right here in the present, and I saw the future and the past all existing kind of within one another. I also had another meditation where I was my higher self. And if you believe in reincarnation, past lives, I believe in it now. I never did before, but I saw all of my past lives and probably future lives. I was like a puppeteer, handling all of these at the same time. And that's how I think they kind of coexist all at the same time. I know it's really, really hard to grasp. And you could think of it as like a VR, or you could also think of it as a video game. You know, you've got a bunch of computer monitors right in front of you, and here you are like, okay, I'm going to control what happens in this life, and I'm going to control what's happening in this life. And your higher self is kind of controlling what's going on. And I think that's kind of where we can jump into the program and change the code. You know, I mean, think about that when you play a video game and you learn the cheat codes in order to jump ahead a couple of levels. And that's kind of what we're doing when we're meditating. We're going up to the mainframe computer and we're just typing in a different code because we want this little thing to change in our lives.
But it's not a cheat code, because
No.
I feel like that is our purpose here on this planet.
Another way to explain it.
Right, but I when you say cheat, it's almost like you're skipping a step or something, but you know, I think it's truly our higher self's intention that we learn how to do this so that we can evolve and we can grow and elevate ourselves, right? Rise up in our spirituality, our body's vibrational level. You were talking about the world being a VR, virtual reality type setting. And if you dig deep enough, Einstein is quoted saying things like that, you know, I mean, similar. Shakespeare, I heard a quote from Shakespeare talking about the whole world is a stage, you know, everything we're doing is a play. Dolores Cannon, Guy Needler, you start reading their books and they, you know, talk about the same thing. It's like, you know, we are the key player in this play called My Life. And if you, and this may blow people's minds, but everyone around me is like a non-essential person in that play to me. I am the key player in the play.
We're all actors.
We're all actors for me.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to Cheryl here, she is the main actor in her play.
Yeah.
And I'm just a side character.
Supporting role. Yeah.
Supporting role for you.
So you are in control of your life.
You are.
You're in control of it, and the other people just kind of do reactions. Because I know I was in theater, and then sometimes when you would mess up a line or something, and you'd kind of like try to get it going, then other people would be like, okay, they try to follow you, and it's almost kind of like what it's like.
It's awkward a little bit.
It is, yeah, yeah.
So if you're coming into this video with questions or doubts, or you just kind of stumbled across it, let's say, and you're like, what the heck are these people talking about? Just start doing some experiments, you know? See how you might be able to control future outcomes. There's, you know, if we really want to take this down to a simple level, if you're always negative, and you catch me on this, make sure I'm right here.
Law of attraction, I guess.
You can talk like law of attraction.
Yeah.
If you're always walking out the door thinking, oh man, I'm going to maybe get in a car accident today, and you always do that, well, it just kind of draws that event towards you. Or if you're always worried about losing your job, or you walk out the door thinking about that coworker that's really going to, you know, just it's a thorn in your backside. It just creates this energy vortex, if you will, around you in a negative manner. And there's other, you know, I've been really tuning into a lot of these different guys talking about this sort of thing in videos, and you can get real technical about it. But I think just simplifying it down, we control our lives by the energy vortex we project from us. And that, in a lot of sense, is how we're living in this game. Right?
Okay.
Those are rules for the game.
I like what you're just saying. I'm going to go back and I'm going to talk about that when you talk about like a video game.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take, I don't know, some kind of fighting game and you're supposed to get weapons, I guess, because that's really popular to do or whatever. Okay, so you've got the kids that get in there and they play the game and they're like, I can't do it, I can't do it. And they just give up and they don't want to play the game anymore. Those are the people that are going out in life with a negative way. And then you've got the people that are like, okay, they're trying to go and steal something from whatever. And they almost get there and like, oh, dang it, I got to go try again. And they do, oh, I got so close. And they're like, okay, well, maybe this time I'm going to try this and this and this. And so life is almost like that. You're like, okay, well, I kind of failed. So what did I do wrong? Let me try it again. And you just keep going and keep going and keep learning until you eventually go in there and you get the gold, you know, and you're like, yes, I finally got it. And then, I mean, are you done with the game? Are you ever going to play the game again? You just throw it away? Or like, no, because then it's like they update it and they're like, oh, there's a new adventure that you can go on. And you're like, oh, cool, on a new adventure. I'm going to go try to do that. And that's the universe
when you get that little notion in your head and you get the feeling and things start popping up and you're like, I don't know, but the universe is nudging you and you say yes. That's the new upgrade, right, to the game.
Yeah.
And I want to jump in here with this next, like, tangent, if you will, because I know I did. I think I could speak for you, too, that we both had these feelings of dread, of just embarrassment, of kind of some sorrow when we first had our awakening. It's like, oh, everything I've been doing is a lie. This is a, you know, I've been lied to. My actions have all been for something that was just totally wrong. And I can say now that it's exciting to me to have this knowledge.
It is.
Because now I have one foot in the quantum,
Yeah.
And I'm meditating, and I'm touching source, I'm going out into the universe. Then the other side of me is in the 3D reality. And now that I know it's a game, I'm trying to master the game, right?
I know.
And it's like, what can I do different today to be a little better, right?
Yeah.
To get that gold, as you say, or that you know, more hearts in my life. My health, you know how they have hearts that show how much health you have?
How much health you have. Well, you can look at upgrades too. We talk about you go and you get your upgrades. And you can have that too. You get the new, you know, I know in Roblox you can save up money and you get new clothes or whatever, or you get cool new weapons to try to do things. And we can do that by accomplishing something, basically by going into like the quantum and going and changing something in, like I said, changing something in the code that we want different down here. And you're talking about 1 foot in 3D and 1 in 5D. I know at first with my spiritual awakening, it was almost like I liked the 5D better. It was like it was cooler. I could have cool experiences and stuff. It was new and different, and 3D world seemed boring. And it took a little while for me to kind of get that balance between the two. And like you said, now it's like, oh, it's a game. Okay, yeah, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to see what I can change, what I can experience, but then let me see if that can happen here. You know?
I want to say, I want to challenge you guys watching this right now and put it in the comments. What things are coming to you, small or big, that's making you think, am I living in a video game? Am I living in a simulation? Am I in the Matrix, right? So I'm curious what things y'all are noticing for that. And also, what things are challenging you guys, you know, as far as how do I find this game, once you come to that realization, how do you find that game fun, challenging to you? What things are you doing different, you know?
Yeah. Going on Matrix, that Matrix, there's a lot of movies like The Matrix, like the Free Guy and what is it, Truman Show and different ones like that, where it's kind of like their whole life was a lie and a simulation. And for The Matrix, for me for a little while, it was hard for me, you know, in the movie he offers the red pill or the blue pill, and it's like once your eyes are opened, you cannot go back. And I got to a point to where I was kind of like, I want to go back. Even though I'd had so much happen, I had so much healing and stuff, it's almost like sometimes I was like, oh, this is such a struggle for me. I guess it's a little bit of
your body wanting the normal thing
It wanted
back.
The ego was fighting me. And it's like I kind of wanted to go back. But now it's like, now that I know this, it's exciting and there's so much more and so much more knowledge and everything that's out there. It's exciting.
It is very exciting.
When my mind was first opened up to this, I was reminded again of the Matrix and the speech that Morpheus gives to Neo when they're first trying to recruit him. And I'm not going to read it verbatim. I'm going to just kind of sum it up a little bit, but I want to read what he says. And I want you to kind of think about this as you're listening and see if this kind of feels like you in your life, or maybe at one point in the past you kind of felt this way. So Morpheus says, I imagine right now you're feeling a bit like Alice tumbling down the rabbit hole. You have the look of a man who accepts what he sees because he is expecting to wake up. Ironically, this is not far from the truth. Do you believe in fate, Neo? Then Neo says, no, because I don't like the idea that I'm not in control of my life. Then Morpheus says, what you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now in this very room, you can see it when you look out your window, when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. And then he goes on to offer the blue pill or the red pill, and he says, you know, you can believe whatever you want to believe and wake up, or if you take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Well, and let's summarize a little bit of that movie where Neo takes the pill, and it's like slam into this alternate reality, which is the real reality, right?
Yeah.
He's being sucked out, plucked out from this reality he thought was real.
Yeah.
And it's like this huge shock moment, like me getting into the cold water, like, you know, and there's this period of acclimation that he went through.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, it's kind of like, oh, this is, he gets acclimated, if you will, and then boom, more reality kicks in, and it's more shock. And I can say for me, and I think for you too, that's been our experience over this year.
The spiritual awakening. I think pretty much anybody who's gone through a big spiritual awakening can say that that's kind of what they experience. It's like, whoa, they were like, oh yeah, I want to see what this is. And then they're kind of like, whoa, okay, that's not what I was expecting. Might be like, wow. And then at some point it's like, oh, wow, what did I get myself into? You kind of go through this roller coaster, like kind of like Neo and probably everybody that gets pulled out of the Matrix.
And I think that's good to point out the roller coaster, because some people just, they don't get it. They're like, oh, I should be on this high all the time. And it's like, no, you know, the universe is very gentle. It's very persistent with revealing these things to us, and it never gives us more than we can handle. It may seem like it.
Yeah.
But
it's to push us.
Yeah, so it gives us what we need, and then we have to process that.
Yeah.
And then once we process it, it gives us some more. And I think awakening to that is the beautiful moment where we're like, oh, okay, it's all right, you know.
Yeah. Well, some other things I like from The Matrix too is like when he goes to see the Oracle, and she tells him, you're not the one. And it's like he's being told what he needs to hear. And I think we get sometimes that in our lives. We're like, why is this happening? But it's kind of like something that steers us in a certain way. And then another thing I like is once he discovers like how he can manipulate the Matrix, you know, it's like, well, I mean, all of them, when they go into the Matrix, they can like run up the walls and jump across buildings. They're defying gravity because they're like, well, this is just a computer game, so I can do anything I want. And I know after my first when I first touched Source, it was like all this stuff opened up in my mind. And I was like, oh, I want to fly. I was like, anything is possible. And so it's kind of like that. It's like, if we could truly believe, we could jump across buildings like that, because we're just like, this is a simulation. But we, deep in our minds, we're believing, okay, this is gravity. I'm gonna fall, and that's like when he kept trying to do it the first time. He's like, nobody ever made their first jump. You know, it's flat on the ground. You know, and eventually he trained himself to believe. So,
yeah, no, we're not encouraging anybody to go crazy like that now. No, come on, Cheryl.
No.
But let me explain like this. The universe doesn't give us the skills necessary to manipulate at that level until we grow and evolve on an energetic level. And what's amazing about that balancing is as we grow and evolve on a spiritual level, our desires change. Yeah. And we don't have the desires we had when we were at a lower level vibrationally. And so we're not going to want to do something terrible with this
Why
ability
do
we get.
kids always want to be superheroes and fly
Right.
and have superpowers? And I think because deep down they know they probably could, but their parents are like, you
No,
can't really
that's
do that.
stupid.
That's just the movies, you know? But I think you really can. You hear about
Yeah.
people that can actually levitate and people that can move objects with their mind. Or like we watched that guy where he was able to like,
Uh-huh.
the little tiny guy and this big guy, he didn't even touch him and he's like, "Ugh," and the guy was like, oh, you know,
Yeah,
it's
the
like
energy flowing
the
through
energy.
him.
So you can manipulate it if you believe, and that's just another training kind of thing.
So let me interview you for a second.
Okay.
Interview you for a second. If somebody was to come up to you and ask you, do you believe that we're living in a simulation? And start asking questions, how would you address that with them?
Oh man, I mean, it's just like this video. I mean, I could make this probably like 2 hours long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just a lot of what we've been saying is say, yeah, I do, and explain to them that it's just like the wool's been pulled over our eyes, and not purposely. We came down here knowing that we would have amnesia, and it's kind of like if we've chosen the right parents, they can kind of help guide us in that direction, or we figure it out ourselves, and usually it's those nudges or bombs that kind of push us in that spiritual path. I'm going to mention how just the other day, I remember I told you that I had a meditation where I was able to see so many different dimensions. It was crazy. I was able to see different choices I had made in my lives. And they say that every choice you make in your life leads to a different dimension and different possibilities. And I was able to see all of these all at once. I know it's hard to understand, but there was a big decision that I made back in the past where I took a pill that made my health bad. And I had seen reality where I hadn't taken it and how it would have turned out that way. But what I liked about it is, for the most part, all my realities showed me pretty much my health was about the same, maybe a little worse, maybe a little better, but it was almost like it was spiritually, there was only one where my spiritual path went, but it was almost like it was like my higher self knew and was kept nudging me in the right direction, and that really gave me a comfort inside to know that even though I've made all these little decisions and my life could have gone in so many different directions, for the most part, spiritually, my life is going in the right direction, and it will. So that was comforting.
Yeah, I like that. You know, we were, you kind of touched on reincarnation, and I tell you, during my spiritual journey and this awakening and how we're living this false reality, you know, I was driving by the cemetery the other day, and I looked at that cemetery completely different now. You know, that's just a body
It's
there.
a body. The
you
spirit's
know?
not there.
Spirit,
Yeah.
you know, well, I always knew that the spirit wasn't there.
Yeah.
But now it didn't have that same level of importance to it.
It's just a vessel that we fill.
Yeah, and the soul enters that vessel, does what it needs to do so that the soul can gain knowledge about emotional things and experiences, and those emotional experiences go out into the universe to be repurposed, and they say that's why the universe keeps expanding, is because all
the
these souls
knowledge.
come here and learn all this, and that information goes back into the universe. And you know, I was reading some books where people were talking about us for thousands of years, maybe millennia, because time is really not a real thing out there in the quantum, in the universe.
Yeah.
But it could be for a long, long time, as far as our minds are concerned, that a soul is waiting for the right opportunity, for that play, for that stage to be set perfectly. The right set of parents, the right geographical location, the right time of what we know as time and history for technological advancements.
It's like chess.
Because that soul has a contract.
Yeah.
Right? And that sounds so bad. Oh, you have a soul contract. No, that soul wanted to come to Earth to have this experience, right? And again, this may be blowing people's minds. It just feels right to me through all my research and knowledge and the knowingness that I have. So the soul signed a contract to say, I want to come to earth willingly, gladly. I mean, I've heard people say there's lines of people waiting to come to earth. I don't know. I'm just, that's something out of a tangent.
Yeah.
But so there was a set of things in this contract that this soul wanted to experience. And so it could be thousands of years, millennia, for the soul to have everything perfect. So now, if all of this is true, which I think it feels true to me, then how can you not say that the life we're living is a play? It's a stage that's been set for us, for me, to have this very particular, unique experience for me to learn and grow from. Different than what we've been told in school, right?
Yeah.
Different than what our parents told us. Different than what you're taught in churches and religions. It's like, oh no, you're either going to go to heaven or to hell, and you only have one opportunity, one shot at this thing.
Yeah.
You know, and this is where it's really important that you enter into this spiritual journey for you and you only, and you do your own research, you do your own meditations. Your answers come really through meditation practice.
You just trust your heart. Your heart is going to guide you. There's been so many books that I've read now that it's just like, I read them and it's just like, I know. There's a few books I start reading them right away. It's just somebody's it's all up, you could tell they're all up here and just spitting out knowledge. But for the most part, I read it and I'm like, wow, this sounds super crazy and out there. But deep down, I'm like, this is real. We're getting really kind of far off topic, but that's okay. But I know that to kind of wrap it up a little bit, so we can be superhuman, and that's what's cool. We can be Neo, stopping bullets, dodging bullets. I mean, that really. I mean, if we can go and we can change things. If we can realize that we are truly in a video game, then we can manipulate everything. That's how people are healing like this. That's how money is just showing up for people, and they're like, out of nowhere. It's like, what? Everybody's in shock. How did this happen? Because it's just not normal.
You have to accept it 100% in your heart and soul that this is reality. That what I mean by that is what you just mentioned about we all came from source and we all can be superhuman. We just have to tap into that. Well, the first step is believing that, 100% surrendering to that notion. And then as the universe brings more information to you, it comes back to, do you believe we're living in a lie, living in a false reality or not?
And I wouldn't say it's a lie. This is it's just a VR. It's a reality that it's just a movie in front of us that we're playing out, or a play that we're playing out.
So if you reincarnated, but you didn't awaken to your spiritual journey, and you died and went back up, all those higher beings up there would say, what the hell were you doing down there? You want to try it again?
Well, I was thinking about that the other day, because I was thinking, when I was in school, I was always like, I didn't want to dress like everybody else. I didn't want to be like everybody else. And thankfully, I found my little niche of friends that were kind of that way. We were the rebels, not the rebel, but, it's just like we didn't want to be like everybody else. We didn't want the latest fashions and the latest hairstyles, and who cares about all that? But now it's kind of like, I know why, because it's like everybody else is living this cookie cutter life. They're told you have to live their life this way. You have to do this. You have to do that. You have to believe this. And it's just like, you don't have to. We're just being told that, and our brains are believing that. And something inside of us, our intuition, our higher selves, telling us, no, that's not how it's supposed to be. Quit listening to all that.
You really want to go down the rabbit hole? Not right now, I'm kidding. But you could get all the way into, for hours, about propaganda, which is why people get confused from a very early age.
It is, and people know that they can manipulate that, and they do that with advertising and commercials and movies. I mean, movies are propaganda, like you said, like the Avengers and all these, even the Matrix and Free Guy and stuff. It's like those movies are showing you that this is for real, but at the same time, we believe that movies are not real. Like, oh, movies are fake. So why would we believe that could really happen? Could we believe that we could actually move things with our mind? Could we believe that we're in a false reality,
Hey, I remember watching Minority Report with Tom Cruise, and I was like, oh my goodness, that cannot be real, right? And yet now we're finding out that people have the abilities to do what was in that movie. It just blows my mind. But, I had a good summary coming in my head. And
Oh no!
I mean, we could really go on and on about this, but I remember now.
Glitches.
Yeah,
Deja-vu.
glitches, deja vu. Now, I just want to speak directly to you guys watching. It's we totally understand what you are probably feeling, and we are so happy that this video found you. There's a reason why you're watching this video, especially to this point, because this is probably going to be one of our longer videos.
It is, and some of this, some people might be like rolling their eyes and like that's a bunch of baloney.
And that's
Believe
fine
what you
too.
want.
Yeah, we're not trying to press upon anybody. We just want to try to help, right? I mean, that was the whole reason we did all these videos in the first place, is sharing our journey and wanting to help other people who are in similar places like us. And I could tell you, as a great wrap-up, it has been the most uncomfortable, amazing, wonderful experience for me.
A roller coaster.
And I don't like roller coasters.
I like roller coasters, but sometimes I look at them and I'm like, do I really want to go on it? And I'm waiting in line, and then I'm like, yes, that was so awesome.
Yeah, just trust with your heart. Really work to let your heart lead the way, and the heart will never lead you wrong. Now, your body may be uncomfortable and want to fight back. Hey,
Yeah.
much love, guys.